Hey guys, welcome back into our Python programming series. In this episode of the series, we'll go over Python loops. So we'll go ahead and see how do we really work with the Python's two loop types, the while and the for loop. But before we really go ahead and start working with these two loops, let's try to understand why do we really need loop, or why there is a need to have a loop into your program. So far, if you have noticed the program that we have written, pretty much the statements are executed sequentially. That means the first line is executed first, followed by the next line, and so on. So there may be a situation when you're writing your program or a block of code where you feel that okay, hey, certain things you would like repeated to be X number of times. That could be one of the cause that really requires you to make use of the loop into your program. So if you think of a loop as some kind of a condition you are checking against your program, and as long either the condition is true or false, you want to go ahead and execute certain line of code over and over until that statement or the expression changes from true to false or false to true. So let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking here. So if you take a look at this program that we have written, we have a couple of print statements. So if I go ahead and run this program, before I can see the while on my screen, the Python will going to go ahead and execute the first print statement followed by the second, third, and so on. So you can see the program or these commands or these lines of code are executed sequentially. First line, then second, third, and so on. So pretty much the statements are executed sequentially. So now, again, as I said, if there is a situation where you like certain code to be repeated multiple times. So when I say multiple times, let's take an example. If I go ahead and give you an exercise saying, okay, hey, let's go ahead and print hello Python maybe 10 times. You can go ahead and tell me, yes, I can do that. I can just simply go ahead and probably write 10 print statement, and I can go ahead and say hello Python, and simply I can go ahead and copy that line of code and probably repeat that line of code or paste that line of code probably at 10 times. And yes, definitely you could achieve that. But if you see what you have done in this program, even though you were able to achieve the final objective of printing the hello Python 10 times, but we ended up repeating the same line of code multiple times. This case is still okay, because in this case there is only one statement or one line of code that was asked to be repeated 10 times. But let's say if you have a block of code which constitute of, let's say, 20 line, 30 line, or up to 100 line, or maybe more than that, and somebody has asked you to repeat that code of line, let's say 10 times or 20 times, you just don't want to be copying and pasting that line of code over and over again. That is not a good sign or a good sign of a good programmer. So how do we really achieve the same thing without copy pasting or without rewriting the same line of code again and again? That's the whole idea where the loops really comes handy. So in this episode, we will go ahead and work with the two loops that are kind of available, mostly being used, which is while loop and the for loop. So we'll go ahead and take a look or work with the while loop first. So as the name kind of indicates, the while loop. The while loop can execute your set of statements as long as the condition is true. So to write a while loop, the syntax is very simple. You will have your while loop followed by some kind of expression that you want to work with, followed by a certain line of code that you like to be executed. And we can go ahead and make use of that into our program. So if I need to demonstrate you the use of the while loop, let's go ahead and rewrite the same program that I just asked you earlier, where we need to print, let's say, hello Python probably 10 times. So how would you really achieve that? So let me go ahead and comment this line of code, and now let's start. So now we need a way to track how many times we have done or repeated some event or some action. So for that, probably we can make use of some kind of a counter that with the each print statement or with each every iteration, we can go ahead and increase the value of that counter. So we know, okay, this is the number of times or X and many number of times we have already executed this block of code. So let me go ahead and declare a variable or define a variable that we can use for the counting. So I'll go ahead and call this variable as count. And so far we have not printed anything. So we will go ahead and initialize this count variable with the value of 0. So far we will be making use of this count variable to count the number of times we have printed the hello Python statement or any other things that you like to do. So now we'll go ahead and make use of our while, which is our first loop. So as I'm typing, you can see the IntelliJ is kind of indicating, hey, probably you are typing while. So I'll go ahead and say while. With the while, we need to provide some kind of expression. So in this case, the expression is basically the what we want to achieve is we want to print hello Python 10 times. So that means as long as this variables, the counter is not equal to 10. As long as this counter is not equal to 10, that means we need to repeat some action. So I can say, okay, hey, as long as this counter, the name of this counter is count, is less than 10. So less than 10 indicates, okay, hey, I will be going from 0 to 9. So as long as this counter is less than 10, we'll go ahead and put a colon here. And now you can say the IntelliJ automatically did the indentation for us. If you're using some other IDE which is not intelligent smart enough, make sure you provide the enough indentation. Now once your code is indented, what is that we want to do here? So within this block of code, or within the body of this your while loop, you can have one single line of code or you can have multiple line of codes. It's up to you. So there could be just one single statement, that would be enough, or you can have multiple statements. So the first thing we definitely wants to go ahead and print hello Python. So once we have achieved the hello Python, now we need to measure, or we need to count away, okay, hey, now we have printed the hello Python once. So what do we need to do that? For that we had made use of this count variable. So we need to go ahead and increase the value of this count by saying, okay, hey, whatever was the previous value of count, go ahead and add a 1 into that one. So that means I will go ahead and go through the complete flow again. And once this is done, let's say once we have printed all the hello Python, I want to indicate to the user somehow, okay, hey, we printed 10 times hello Python successfully. Now this is the end of the program. And again, we want to do that once the whole hello Python has done 10 times. Printing is completely 10 times. That means this line of code, we don't want to be executed under while, but once the while is done. So that means remove your indentation and write on the main line where the while, or on the same indent level where your while is written. And I can go ahead and simply write a print statement that would indicate, okay, end of your program. Once that is done, now let me go ahead and execute this program, and then we'll go ahead and explain this program line by line one more time. So right click and then just simply say run hello world. And you would see on the bottom of my screen, we had hello Python printed almost 10 times. So I can go ahead and count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And later on, once we have the 10 hello Python statement, there is a last line which says end of program. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this program a little bit more in details. So to print this hello Python 10 times, we went ahead and declared a variable. We call that variable as count. So far we have not ran through any kind of loop, so that's the reason the count variable is set to variable 0. So if you take it, look at this statement which says while. So this kind of really indicates, okay, hey, while the value of the count, so in this case the count is 0, while the value of the count is less than 10. So if I take a look here, what is the value of count initially? 0. So are we saying, is count less than 10? Yes. In this case, count is less than 10. That means the statement is true. And if the statement is true, we are printing hello Python. So we went ahead and printed the hello Python. In the next line, under the same while, we are saying count is equals to count plus 1. What is the value of count? The value of the count the first time is 0. So we are saying 0 plus 1 is equals to 1. And now the value of count is 1. So we go onto the line number 4 again here. And we go ahead and check our expression again. Now the value of count is 1. We are saying is 1 less than 10, and the expression is again true. We come back here, we execute this statement which is doing the print of hello Python. So once we have the second line being printed, we go ahead and repeat count is equals to count plus 1. So this time the value of count is 1. We are saying 1 plus 1. Now the value is 2. We are storing that value 2 in the variable count. Now once that's done, we go back and recheck our expression. In this case, we are checking is 2 less than 10. We go ahead and repeat the same operation all these 10 times. On the last 10th time, the value of your count is 9. So 9 plus 1 is equals to 10. Now we go ahead and verify, is 10 less than 10? No, 10 is not less than 10, and this expression is false. Because this expression is false, we are not handling the false side of this while loop. So we just exit out of the while loop and we come to the same indentation level where our while is, and which is this print statement. So we will go ahead and print this line which is end of program, and that's how you can see we are making use of the while loop. Let's go ahead and write one more program using the while loop. Let me just quickly go ahead and comment out all of these line of code, and let's go ahead and write a new program. And you can always right click here and say clear all too. So in this per line of code, let's say you have been asked to write a from 1 to 10. So again, just go ahead and define a variable to keep a track. Okay, have we printed up to 10 or not? So let me just go ahead and call a variable, and this time I'll use a variable I'll call I is equals to value being 1. This time we are starting the value from 1 instead of 0. And again, we will be making use of the while. With the while, we are using our expression. In the expression, we say, okay, hey, as long as the value of I is less than and equals to 10. And if this time you say, I'm making use of the equal sign because we need to go up to 10, not less than 10, because we are starting from 1. So we want to go from 1 to all the way up to 10. And as long as the value of I is less than equals to 10, we need to print the value of I. So we'll just go ahead and simply say print I. And once that is done, now go ahead and increment the value of I by 1 with each iteration. So I is equals to I plus 1. And once the program is done, just simply come out. This time, once we exit from the while loop, we are not printing any other message. And now just simply go ahead and execute this program. So again, right click and say run hello world. And you would see that this program went ahead and printed from 1 to 10. Again, if you want to add some kind of a message or any other details, you can freely, you can go ahead and definitely do that. Or if you need to go ahead and do any further action, you can certainly do that. Let me just show you something here. We can make use of this same while loop. Now let's say if you want to go ahead and print a table of 2, let's say from 2 to 20. So you can always start I equals to 2, and this time we'll say, okay, hey, as long as I is less than equals to 20, I want to print the value of I, but instead of incrementing it every time with 1, I want to increment the value by 2. And now if you go ahead and execute the same line of code again, you would see the system is printing from 2 to 20. And this is one of the very common way where you can go ahead and write a table for any number that you like. Now let's write another program using our while loop. So in this program, we will go ahead and find out or print all the even numbers from 1 to 20 with the help of our while loop. Again, let's go ahead and make use of variable. I'll create a variable x. And in this variable, I'll go ahead and assign a value being 1. And we want to go as long as the value of x is not equal to 20. So we'll go ahead and make use of the while x is less than equals to 20. And in this case, we want to test the value of x. Is it being an even number or is it an odd number? And we can make use of the if statement if you recall earlier. So within of loops, you can make use of your decision making or your if statements. So in this case, we'll go ahead and say if x equals to 0, that means this number is a even number. So I can go ahead and say even number, and we can go ahead and even print our even number just by entering here x. If this is not an even number, we don't want to do any action. So we came back under the same indentation level as our if statement, and we'll just go ahead and increase the value of x by 1. So we'll say x is equals to x plus 1. And as usual, now once the while loop is over, so that means we need to come under the same indent level as our while. So I came under the same indentation level as while, and we'll go ahead and print our any message that we can say end of program. And once that is done, if everything looks good, just simply go ahead and execute this program. We'll right click and say run hello world. And as you can see, the system, initially the value of x is 1 if I have to go through this one. So we are saying is x less than equals to 20, is 1 less than equals to 20. That means this expression is true. And once this expression is true, we came inside the while loop. And within the while loop, the first statement is our decision making or if the if condition. In this, we are checking if x modulus 2 equals to 0. That means this number is completely divisible by 0 and the remainder is 0. That means this is an even number, and that's what we say. We are executing now this if expression is true. We say print this message which says even number, and that's what you say the value of x. So the value of x, and then we go ahead and increment the value of x by 1. So now let's run through our 2 complete cycle here. Initially, the value of x is 1. We are saying is x 1 less than equals 20. So this expression is true. We are inside the while loop. So here we are checking 1 modulus 2 equals to 0. No, that's not the case. So we never executed this print statement. We just jumped directly to x is equals to x plus 1. So the value of x is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Now the value of x is 2. If we go back and retest our expression, we jump back to line number 2 again. We are verifying here is 2 less than equals to 20. This expression is true. Now we came inside the while loop. Within the while loop, we check our first statement or first expression with the if 2 modulus 2 equals to 0, and that's the case. In this case, it's true, and this expression is true. So we came inside our if block of code. Within the if block of code, we went ahead and printed the statement saying even number and with the value being 2. And this will continue as long as the value of x is less than equals to 20. So this kind of concludes working with the while loop. Hopefully you have a good idea now. How do you really work with the while loop? How do you really increment some of these different things? In the next episode, we will go ahead and work with our for loop. Thank you.